Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life when the weight on our shoulders feels too heavy, when challenges seem impossible, and when our hearts cry out, God, how do I handle this? In those moments, we are not weak for asking, we are human, and in our humanity we search for strength, guidance, and hope. When life feels overwhelming, the natural instinct for most people is to react quickly, often out of fear, frustration, or panic. In those moments, our emotions tend to cloud our judgment, and we find ourselves making decisions that might only add to the chaos. That is why learning to pause is so important. It means creating space for the mind and heart to catch up with reality before rushing into action. Just as a runner takes a deep breath before continuing a race, pausing allows us to regain strength and prepare for what's ahead. Clarity often comes when we allow ourselves to step back. Think of how muddy water settles when left undisturbed. After a while, the dirt sinks to the bottom and the water becomes clear. The same is true for our thoughts. When we stop reacting immediately and give ourselves a chance to reflect, our perspective shifts. What once looked impossible may now appear manageable, and what once felt like a dead end may reveal a hidden path forward. This shift doesn't happen in the noise of panic, but in the quiet of stillness. Pausing also gives us a chance to reconnect with our deeper values. In the middle of stress, we sometimes forget what truly matters and instead focus on the loudest, most urgent problem. By slowing down, we remind ourselves of the bigger picture. We begin to ask, is this really worth my energy? Is this situation temporary, or does it deserve my full focus? These questions help us separate what is essential from what is just distraction. In that clarity, we often find peace. Most importantly, pausing invites us to listen, not just to our own thoughts, but also to the guidance of faith, wisdom, or intuition. Many times, we pray for answers but rush ahead without waiting to hear them. Silence creates room for those answers to surface. It's in the pause that we hear the quiet voice that tells us, you can handle this, or reminds us of a step we hadn't considered. Without the pause, those whispers are drowned out by the noise of our own fears. One of the hardest feelings during tough times is the sense of isolation. Many people believe they are the only ones carrying such heavy burdens, and this belief makes the struggle even heavier. But the truth is, no matter how unique a problem may seem, we are never truly alone in facing it. Countless others have walked similar paths, and more importantly, we are always surrounded by some form of support, be it faith, family, friends, or even strangers who step into our lives at just the right moment. Recognizing this fact helps dissolve the crushing weight of loneliness. When we remember that God, or a higher power, is always present, the feeling of abandonment slowly fades. Faith reassures us that even in silence, we are being watched over and guided. It may not always be in the form of immediate answers, but the comfort of knowing we are held by something greater than ourselves is enough to keep us standing. This awareness turns despair into hope, and it reminds us that strength flows not only from within, but also from above. Support also comes in very human forms. Friends who listen without judgment, mentors who share wisdom from their own struggles, or even a kind word from a stranger can become lifelines in difficult times. Yet, often pride or fear prevents us from admitting we need help. Remembering we are not alone requires humility, The willingness to lean on others, to accept their encouragement, and to allow their presence to remind us that life's battles were never meant to be fought in isolation. Beyond people and faith, there is also the reminder that within us exists a deep well of inner strength, formed by all the challenges we have already overcome. We may feel alone in the present, but our past victories prove that resilience has always been with us. Every time we thought we could not go on, yet somehow did, is evidence that we are carried by a force far greater than our doubts. Remembering this truth gives us courage to keep walking forward even when the road feels unbearably heavy. Struggles are often misunderstood as punishments or signs of weakness, but in reality, they are powerful tools for shaping who we are meant to become. Every hardship carries within it a lesson, and though the lesson may not be obvious at first, it slowly reveals itself as we push through. Just like a seed must break through the soil to become a tree, we too must endure pressure and resistance before we can rise into our fullest strength. Without challenges, our abilities remain dormant, untested, and undeveloped. Difficulties force us to discover aspects of ourselves we may never have realized existed. In easy times, we operate within comfort, doing only what is familiar and safe. But when life places us in uncomfortable circumstances, we are stretched beyond our limits. That stretch is painful, but it is also the birthplace of growth. It teaches resilience, creativity, and problem solving. Each struggle becomes a teacher, shaping our character and preparing us for responsibilities we could not have handled before. Growth through struggle also changes the way we see others. When we suffer, we learn empathy for those who carry their own hidden burdens. A person who has faced deep hardship gains the ability to connect with others in a more genuine way. The scars we collect along the journey become reminders that we are not only survivors, but also guides for those still fighting. In this way, our struggles are not wasted. They ripple outward, allowing our lessons to strengthen and encourage others. Furthermore, struggles redefine what success truly means. Without difficulty, victories feel shallow and temporary, but when we achieve something after enduring pain, sacrifice, and perseverance, the success becomes deeply meaningful. The process of overcoming hardship gives us a greater sense of gratitude for every small blessing. It shifts our focus from chasing perfection to appreciating progress. Over time, we begin to see that struggles are not obstacles holding us back. They are the very stepping stones that move us closer to our destiny. One of the greatest misconceptions people carry is the belief that asking for help is a sign of weakness. From an early age, many are taught to be independent, to handle problems quietly, and to never let others see their struggles. But this mindset only deepens the burden, making already heavy challenges feel impossible to bear. Seeking help is not weakness, it is wisdom. It shows that we understand the value of sharing the load and recognize that no one was meant to go through life completely alone. When we open ourselves to others, we create space for support, comfort, and guidance to flow into our lives. Friends, family members, mentors, and even communities are often more willing to help than we imagine. Sometimes all it takes is the courage to say, "I'm struggling," to find that others are ready to stand beside us. Help may come in many forms: a listening ear, practical advice, financial assistance, or simply the reassurance that we are not facing the storm alone. Each act of support strengthens us in ways we cannot always achieve on our own. Seeking help also allows us to benefit from the experiences of others. Many people around us have faced similar struggles, and their wisdom can shorten our learning curve, sparing us unnecessary pain. A mentor who shares how they overcame a similar challenge can inspire us to keep going. A loved one who listens without judgment can remind us of our worth when we forget it ourselves. By asking for help, we tap into a network of strength that multiplies our own. Most importantly, reaching out teaches us humility and connection. It reminds us that human life is not about isolation, but about relationships and community. When we ask for help, we strengthen the bonds of trust and compassion between ourselves and others. We allow people to step into our lives and fulfill their purpose by giving, just as we will one day do for someone else. In this exchange of support, both the giver and the receiver are uplifted, proving that vulnerability is not weakness, but a bridge that leads to healing and growth. Life is full of uncertainties, and one of the greatest sources of stress comes from trying to control things that are far beyond our reach. We worry about the decisions of others, the timing of events or circumstances we cannot change, and in doing so, we drain our energy and peace. Focusing on what we can control brings a sense of balance back into our lives. It shifts our attention from what is overwhelming to what is actionable. And in that shift, we regain a sense of power and stability. When we choose to center our energy on our own actions, thoughts, and attitudes, we begin to see progress. We may not be able to change the outcome of a situation, but we can decide how we will respond to it. For example, while we cannot stop a storm from coming, we can prepare our shelter, gather supplies, and protect ourselves. In the same way, when challenges strike, choosing patience, persistence, and faith over panic allows us to move forward with confidence rather than fear. Focusing on what we can control also builds resilience. Every time we take small, intentional steps in the face of uncertainty, we prove to ourselves that we are capable of adapting and overcoming. This process creates a mindset of growth rather than defeat. Instead of wasting energy on things that are impossible to change, we invest it into habits, routines, and choices that strengthen us from within. Over time, these small, consistent actions compound, leading to bigger breakthroughs than we could have imagined. Furthermore, letting go of what we cannot control brings freedom. It releases us from the endless cycle of anxiety and frustration that comes from trying to fix the unfixable. When we accept that some things are simply out of our hands, we allow peace to enter. This acceptance is not about giving up. It is about wisely redirecting our strength to where it truly matters. By focusing on what is within our reach, we not only handle challenges more effectively, but also discover a deeper sense of calm in the midst of chaos. Gratitude is often underestimated, yet it has the power to completely transform the way we view our struggles. When challenges surround us, our minds naturally focus on what is wrong, what is missing, or what feels unfair. But by intentionally practicing gratitude, we shift our focus toward what is still present, what is still working, and what continues to bring light into our lives. This change in perspective does not erase the pain, but it softens its grip, reminding us that even in dark times, there is always something to hold on to. Practicing gratitude helps us realize that blessings often come in the smallest forms. By acknowledging these moments, we train our minds to take root even in environments filled with negativity. Almost try something near and really nobody. Alya is better than reliance, realization, and the wreaths of GDPR Pintra. Lividala. Gratitude becomes a shield that protects our hearts from being consumed by despair. Moreover, gratitude creates resilience. When we look back on difficult seasons of life, we often discover that what sustained us was not the absence of problems, but the presence of small blessings that give us strength to continue. A grateful heart learns to recognize these supports in real time instead of waiting until the storm has passed to appreciate them. We begin to notice them while standing in the middle of the storm. This perspective makes us stronger, calmer, and more capable of enduring what lies ahead. Gratitude also deepens our connections with others. Even the act of expressing a quiet or acknowledging the universe for its quiet provisions builds a sense of humility and peace. Even the act of thanking God or acknowledging the universe for its quiet provisions builds a sense of ingratitude. We discover that life, no matter how challenging, is still filled with countless gifts, waiting to be noticed. Trusting the process means believing that every stage of life, whether joyful or painful, has a purpose that may not be visible right away. It is easy to feel frustrated when things don't happen according to our timeline or expectations. We want instant results, immediate clarity, and quick answers. But life rarely unfolds that way. Instead, it moves through seasons, some of growth, some of waiting, and some of testing. Trusting the process is learning to accept that the journey itself is just as important as the destination. When difficulties arise, it is tempting to see them as delays or obstacles meant to hold us back. Yet many times those very setbacks are shaping us for something greater. Just as gold must pass through fire to be refined, we too are refined by the challenges we endure. The process teaches patience, strengthens our character, and prepares us for responsibilities we might not be ready for otherwise. Though the lessons may feel heavy in the moment, they are equipping us with tools we will need in the future. Trusting the process also requires faith in timing. What we see as a closed door may simply be protection from something that is not right for us yet. What feels like a slow season may be preparing the right opportunities to align. This perspective eases frustration and helps us surrender control. Instead of forcing things to happen, we learn to walk with trust, knowing that life's rhythm is wiser than our own hurried pace. In this trust, we find peace, even in uncertainty. Furthermore, trusting the process builds endurance. It teaches us that growth does not happen overnight, but through consistent steps, small victories, and lessons learned along the way. When we look back after enduring hardship, we often realize that the process was shaping us more than the outcome itself. Each detour, each delay, and each disappointment carried meaning. By trusting the process, we embrace life as a journey of transformation rather than a series of random struggles, allowing us to walk forward with strength and confidence. Also, when we find ourselves asking, God, how do I handle this? The answer is not always immediate, nor is it always simple. But if we pause for clarity, remember we are not alone, embrace struggles as opportunities for growth, seek help when needed, focus on what we can control, practice gratitude, and trust the process, we begin to see that we already hold the strength to carry on. Life's challenges are not meant to destroy us, but to shape us into stronger, wiser, and more compassionate people. With faith in our hearts and courage in our steps, we can face even the heaviest burdens and rise above them.